Hey there. Today we are shedding some light on how narcissists manipulate you in ways that are so incredibly subtle, so slick that you don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. Hi, ladies. If you're new here, my name is Beany, and I'm a trauma-informed coach that has a decade of lived experience dealing with, living with, and leaving a narcissistic, abusive man. I'm glad you're here. If anything in this video resonates with you, I'd love for you to hit that thumbs up and subscribe buttons to show your support so that you never miss a video. And for those of you who are already subscribers, welcome back. Okay, so we already know that abusive, narcissistic, toxic men have a doctorate degree in manipulation, and that they use a variety of tactics that are designed to confuse you and control you and slowly chip away at your identity. And I'm not talking about the obvious things like yelling and threats or violence. I'm talking about covert, calculated manipulation that is hidden behind things like charm and concern and even love. And if these 8 tactics that I'm about to talk about are new for you and you don't know how to recognize them, then this video is for you. This will be your map. I will be breaking down each of these tactics, and I will be giving you some real world examples, and I will explain why you maybe didn't see it sooner so that you can begin to kind of wash away some of that shame that you might be feeling about it all. So this video is designed for you to be able to go, wait, that sounds familiar. My partner says those things to me. I feel like that often. Oh my God, my partner did that too. And so when you know that others are going through or have gone through something similar, you begin to be able to kind of put words to it. The crazy that you feel begins to feel a little less crazy, and you can begin to accept your reality for what it truly is. And I think it's also really important to say that, man, it's really hard to believe that the person that you love and you think loves you has such devious plans for you. But that's where radical acceptance comes in, and you have to kind of begin to really open your eyes to some soul-crushing realities about this person. So let's get into it. The first one, gaslighting. Gaslighting is one of the narcissist's favorite tools. It is psychological warfare disguised as reason. Okay, so what does gaslighting look like? You bring up something hurtful they said yesterday, and they say something like, that never happened, or you're remembering it wrong, or you're too sensitive, you're imagining things. And over time, you start to question your own memory, your own emotions, and your own reality. A real life example of this might look like you catch them texting someone they claim to have already blocked. You confront them and they say, wow, are you really doing this again? You're so insecure. I told you that was over. Suddenly, you end up apologizing for snooping instead of them being held accountable for lying. Why does this work for them? Well, it works because you're already trying to keep the peace, right? And they end up exploiting that to make you doubt yourself. Okay, love bombing. Next up, right? This is how they hook you really early on, okay? What does love bombing look like? They flood you with affection and compliments and promises. You're the one I've always waited for. I've never felt this way about anyone. Let's move in together. You just get me, right? Has anybody heard any of those, right? It's intense and it's fast and intoxicating. They mirror your interests. They text you constantly, and they seem obsessed with you. A real life example of this might look like you've only been dating for 2 weeks and they start talking about maybe marriage and picking baby names or booking trips together. It feels like a dream, but actually it is a very strategic attachment on their part. Why does this work? Well, it works because it makes you feel chosen. It makes you feel seen, and it makes you feel safe. But it's not real intimacy. It's manipulation dressed as connection, which is what you're craving, right? Okay, the third one, minimizing. Minimizing is when they downplay your pain or their wrongdoing to avoid any kind of accountability. This tactic got me good. I just kept assuming, because I was so new to this world that he was living in, that I just didn't know what was normal. I know, in hindsight, hindsight is 2020, and now I can look back on it and see how incredibly naive I was, and that he 100% played off of that naivety. Minimizing might look like, it was just a joke. You're blowing this out of proportion. You're always so dramatic. It's not that big of a deal. So-and-so does the same thing, right? Real life examples. You express that something they did hurt you, and they respond with something like, wow, you must be really fragile. Now, instead of addressing the harm, you're defending your right to even feel hurt. Why does this work? Because it makes you question whether your reactions are valid. You start silencing yourself before they even need to. Now that's control, right? Okay, the next tactic is called triangulation. And this is when the narcissist uses another person to control how you feel or how you behave. They bring in reinforcements to make sure that you believe it all. See, now it's not just them that thinks whatever it is that they're trying to convince you of. So-and-so does too. And so that to you might look like them comparing you to their ex. My ex never acted like this. They might end up bringing up how others view you. Everyone thinks you're overreacting. My ex would often tell me that everyone in the gym thinks that I'm a bitch and that I don't smile enough. Or he would flirt with someone else just to get a reaction out of me, right? More real life examples might be you're having an argument and suddenly they say, I was just talking to my friend Tony and he agrees that you're being completely irrational. Now it's not just you versus them. It's you versus them and all of their supporters. Why does this work? Well, it works because it just further isolates you. It creates even more insecurities and it makes you compete for their approval. Okay, the next one is future faking. Future faking is when a narcissist makes false promises about the future to keep you attached to the present. And this can be done throughout the entire duration of the relationship. In the beginning, it's done to draw you in. In the midst of the relationship, it kind of keeps you. And in the end, it gets you to keep coming back. And this could look like them saying things like, I'm going to start therapy. We'll take that trip next year. Let's move out of this city and start fresh. A real life example might be you catch them in a lie, but they cry and they beg and they say, well, I was about to propose and you're going to ruin everything over just this little thing. Then suddenly you're staying for a future that never actually really existed. Why does this work? Because it gives you hope. And hope is supposed to be a good thing, right? But hope is addictive. And especially addictive when the present that you're dealing with is so incredibly painful. They become masterful at weaponizing your hope to buy more time for themselves, to manipulate you. Okay, silent treatment. Who's been there? The silent treatment isn't about space. It's about punishment. And what does it look like? They might ghost you for days after an argument. They might ignore your texts, but they post on social media. They act cold and distant without any kind of explanation. Real life example. You bring up maybe a boundary and suddenly they go radio silent, right? No calls, no messages. You're left spiraling, wondering if they're mad, if you push too hard, if you should apologize. And that's the point, right? Why does this work? This works because it creates anxiety and fear of abandonment. You start walking on eggshells to avoid being emotionally exiled again. Okay, we've got two more. The second to last one is called projection. Projection is when the narcissist accuses you of the very things that they're doing. This made me absolutely crazy in the moment. I remember being absolutely flabbergasted at the idea that he thought I was cheating on him. Like, how dare he even for a second believe that I would do that? I was so appalled at the idea that I lost sight of the real issue, which was that he was the one that was actually cheating. So this could look like a few different things. Like I said, cheating. They accuse you while you're actually the one being unfaithful. Or they could say, you're controlling. Well, really, they're literally monitoring absolutely everything you do and say. Another one might be that they call you crazy. Well, actually, they're the one that's emotionally destabilizing you. A real life example, you ask a question about where they are and suddenly they lash out, right? You're so paranoid. You're probably the one hiding something. Now you end up being on the defense and the real issue gets swept under the carpet or buried, right? Why does this work? It works because it deflects attention. It confuses you and it keeps you emotionally off balance. Okay, the last tactic I'm going to talk about today is faux apologies and manipulative tears. The faux apology, I was oblivious to for a long time. I actually believed that he was sorry, but it turned out I was wrong. When a narcissist apologizes, it's often a faux apology, not remorse, just damage control, right? And then the manipulative tears was something I thought I had caught on to really early. I remember thinking to myself, that cry, those tears that I see coming out of his eyes right now really seem unauthentic. But then I was convinced that it was just me being insensitive and that no grown man would actually pretend to cry or pretend to be hurt. But once again, nope, I was wrong. There are actual grown men out there doing this exact thing. So what does this look like? It looks like them saying things like, I'm sorry you feel that way, which is, translation, I'm sorry I got caught. They might say, I said I was sorry. What more do you want? Translation for that is, I'm going to minimize my role and make you think that you're overreacting. Or they cry, break down, say they're the victim, right? Real life example. After hurting you, they sob and they say something like, I'm broken. Everyone leaves me. You're going to leave me too. And now guess what? Now you're comforting them for hurting you. Why does this work? It works because you're an empath. It works because you want to believe in redemption. You believe in second chances and you are programmed to see the best in people. But they're not sorry. They're just resetting the cycle. Okay, so that was 8 tactics, right? So now that you can maybe recognize them, how do you fight back? Well, here's the truth. You didn't see these tactics because you were trained not to. You were conditioned to doubt your own instincts, to dismiss your pain, and to defend their behavior. But now you see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? So what are your next steps? Learn the patterns. Rewatch this video. Name the tactics out loud. Gaslighting, love bombing, minimizing, triangulation, future faking, projection, faux apologies, and even manipulative tears. Ask yourself, how many of these do you believe you have fallen victim to? Practice radical self-trust. Your gut isn't broken. It's just been overridden. Start no contact or gray rock if you're still entangled, right? Reclaim your reality, one truth at a time. You're not weak for being manipulated. You're strong for having survived it. And now you're beginning to reclaim that power. Okay, so I would love to hear from you. Comment below which tactic you've experienced the most. Let's name it, let's expose it, and let's take your truth back. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more survivor truth telling. And thank you so much for watching. Remember, I'm rooting for you.